I think the Houthis have a problem with funding. It's just like all the American forces and Iranian forces, they gotta rearm, they gotta get more missiles. I don't know if the Houthis have the ability to get more missiles, especially with Iran not being in a position to rearm them. So the problem with the Houthis might be getting weapons from Russia or from China, because getting them from Iran would be very difficult, just as it would be very difficult for them to get funding. Now that would put them in a position against the US forces as they try to get those weapons in, if that was something to happen. And it would also put a 50% tariff over China and Russia if they get caught arming Houthis, which is not something that they can really afford, because the Russian economy is not doing great, and neither is the Chinese. And that's what I wanted to put out there in relation to the other strait, the el-Mandeb, I think it's called. That Does
Bab
that make
al-Mandeb.
sense? Bab al-Mandeb,
Yes.
yes. That's something I wanted to put out there for discussion.
Okay, so actually, this is a good way to start the discussion because let me actually bring the map of what we're talking about here, right? Because so we have the Islamic Republic blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, and we have the US blockade, which is not on the Strait of Hormuz, unlike what so many people say. It's on the Iranian ports, meaning that the Americans are not stopping anybody coming out of Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, Oman. Everybody's free to go, but anybody coming from the Iranian ports, they're putting a blockade on that, right? So far, the blockade has been successful, which is a big deal because if the blockade of the American blockades continues to be successful, this is going to bankrupt the Islamic Republic really, really fast. Like this is very devastating for the Islamic Republic if this continues. So we have to see if it's going to be successful or not. So the Islamic Republic, because they're desperate, they now have threatened to put pressure on Bab al-Mandab to put more pressure on energy markets. Remember that Saudi Arabia has the east-west pipeline here that has at least 7 million. Well, I don't know if at least there's 7 million barrels a day goes through here from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea. So putting some pressure on Bab al-Mandeb means that that is going to, cause some difficulties for, the energy market. But we don't know how much to take this threat seriously because the Islamic Republic is far away from Bab al-Mandab. So we're assuming they mean that the Houthis are going to do something, but the Houthis have been absent during these military operations recently. They sent, I think, four missiles or like towards Israel, which is really small compared to what they used to do. So it's interesting that they've been absent and we don't know how effective they're going to be if they want to be a problem. We know that we can't completely dismiss them because as the airstrike carrier group USS Bush was coming towards the Persian Gulf, instead of taking the route through the Red Sea and the Bab al-Mandab through the Mediterranean and the Red Sea and then Bab al-Mandab and then coming here to the Persian Gulf, they went all the way down the south of Africa and took the long route. So that might be because they don't want to go past the Houthis. So if they're taking them at least somewhat seriously, maybe we should as well. I do want to see if what Jeffrey thinks about all of this regarding the threat that the Houthis could be to Bab al-Mandab or maybe the Islamic Republic directly itself. Should we take this threat seriously at all, or is this just a bluff? Yep, Jeffrey, can you like?
Yes. I mean, it's a threat that you have to deal with. The same global socioeconomic and technological trends that I won't belabor and go through again because I've like hammered them home forever is ones that enable, small and smaller actors to do greater and greater things. The very same approach that Ukrainian defense forces gallantly used to sit there and take down Putin's traditional conventional military can also be used by bad guys, right? So it's something you have to take into account. That said, again, things are in play right now. It's not just demining the strait. I mean, bumping up U.S. domestic production, having, say, Venezuela bump up its production, sits there and divests dependency on those areas altogether, at least until the security, we flesh them all out. And of course, like bad guys are going to sit there and enable Houthis. So, like, Chaicoms, Putin's, North Koreans, pick whoever. I mean, shake a stick, you can hit an asshole. Producing like Shaheds isn't hard to do. It isn't hard to do. That's tragically what the reality is. So it's also why you have to take a actor, centric approach towards stopping proliferation and not like a critical material approach, because it's easier to proliferate than it is to stop them. The way you stop them is you kill the guys who want it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Then you want to
And
respond?
It's pretty much everything else. It's everything that's made in the Far East and is delivered to Europe comes through the Suez Canal. So that's everything. Everything made in China that's sold in Europe, right? So or Japanese cars or Korean cars or things like that that are sold in Europe. So it's everything but energy really is what's important there. And the other thing is just what the original person who brought this up, Sketch, said. It's true that the Houthis have nowhere near the amount of money that Iran has, but that the Iranian regime has. But we don't know how much weapons they have in storage, how many missiles, how many drones they have left. And one thing is, though, that they make money by basically extorting out of their own population. They're basically a drug cartel. They sell gat, which to their own population, and they use the drug to extort their own population. So they have funds, and their funds aren't going to run low so fast. They're poor, but they're extorting a dirt poor population, but they have money. So they're not a threat. There's always something that they can do, and we're not sure how many drones or missiles they have left, but clearly they're also concerned about running out of stock, and they probably don't assume that they'll get restocked anytime soon.
Okay. Jeffrey, you also wanted to say something?
Real quick. So again, Danny hit a very key issue, which is this is the vulnerability of like globalization. I'm not anti-globalization. We needed to take a strategic trade approach towards globalization like everybody else did, and we didn't. You might say I support glocalization. Glocalization means so like the Chi-Coms spent the past 20 years gobbling up all the rare earth elements around the world. So we actually have a lot of rare earth elements in the United States. We just haven't built out the mines yet. If we onsource production, then we can sit there and have a secure productive base that offsets things like dependency on China or other areas. So the question then becomes, how do you offset the comparative competitive advantage with the Chi-Coms when they used to use cheap labor, although China doesn't even use cheap labor. They're going all in on robots. Well, we need to go in on automation, right? It's the reason why Donald Trump is pushing so hard with tariffs to then, to obtain the financial capital to then onsource a lot of the manufacturing that needs to be done at any number of things in a manner that makes it competitive. I mean, those are the legit things that have to happen. So, Danny, that was a very good thing. It's not everybody thinks about the oil. They don't think about all the other stuff that comes out of it, including Strait of Hormuz spot. Well done.
Sorry, I think I meant, mean old lady.
Okay, thank you. I just have something really short to recommend. This I saw a couple of weeks ago. It pull like when I was watching the show this morning, I was completely like everything comes together. What Israel has been doing all around that, what do you call it? The Bab el
Bab-el-Mandeb.
Right.
Bab-el-Mandeb.
Right. So what they've been doing this entire year since Trump got in office was making these amazing strategic military alliances with countries all around there. They just recognized Somaliland a couple months ago. Anyway, there's a video on it that Rabbi Pesach Waliki made. It's called Uganda Sends Cold-Blooded Threat to Iranian Mullahs and Now They're Terrified. But it's actually about all of the things that Israel did in that region. And when you see like the geographics of what has happened militarily, you understand like this is Trump 5D chess 100%. That's why the first thing he did was to take care of the Panama Canal, and then Venezuela and Iran. And it's like they have when you go into the Pentagon, you have 1,000 people playing war games out. They have every single scenario that could possibly be, they have plans for every single scenario. I think that the car bomb obviously is coordinated. The power structures do not. Nobody's going rogue and doing something like that. This is like the time that the Iranian people, the boots on the ground, are going to start their attack. It's everything is so coordinated. But I really just want to say, please go to that video and watch it after this live chat is finished. It is so informative. It came out on March 30th, and it just, when you see like the strategic military alliances that have been formed in this last year, it completely all makes sense. Anyway, that's all I have to say. So hopefully you guys will watch that, and then I can listen to what you think of it next time.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, if you could also, if anybody could put the link in the chat to that video,
Yeah,
that would be-
I will do that. I will put the link in the chat.
thank you. All right.
And Blake really quickly, and then we move on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing about the rare earth extraction or rare earth element extraction. From what I understand, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe a big barrier to this happening outside China is that a lot of Western nations have so overregulated things in the name of environmentalism. And I don't want to say the environment's not important, but we've got to have a balance. Whereas the Chicoms, they don't give a fuck. They will just, ruin the environment however they want to. So it's not just about cheap labor or automation. It's also about, are we even allowed to have a mine here?
Okay, last response for Jeffrey, and then we really move on.
Real quick to Blake's point, the former administration, Biden administration's Secretary of the Interior, who is like a radical left-wing woke wackadoo who had no idea what she was doing, is one of the ones that pushed for a lot of those crazy regulations. And she had no idea about mining environmentalism or any of it. Actually, my buddy had to deal with her directly. He was the head of the concrete lobby. You would shit egg rolls if you saw how dumb she was.